Hello, my people. So, guess what? We're going to be doing some learning today. So, we got some face paint, but I always wanted to know, what do these things actually look like in their rawest form? So, calcium carbonate, that's chalk. But, I wanted to see that. So, we are going on an adventure, and we're going to be going to a museum to see if we can figure out what these things look like in the rawest form. I don't know if we're going to find them all, but we will try our best. So we're going to break this video up into 3 different categories. 1, we are going to be seeing if we can find these minerals in their raw forms. 2, we are actually going to be talking about the color blue, because I think that has such a deep history that a lot of people don't know about. And I don't know, I think it's interesting. And 3, we're going to be talking about ochre, because ochre is one of the earliest forms of face paint. And if you're a face painter, to be a more well-rounded one, you should know this stuff. You should know this stuff. So let's do some learning and also have some fun. Let's go to the museum. I will see you guys throughout to fill in the blanks that I did not fill out when I was filming. So let's go. At the Natural History Museum, and I'm going to see if we can try and find some ochre and some minerals that are used in face paint. So let's go! Hi, so I want to go check out. The first one will be geology and geology. We'll see if there's something in it. We're going to go check out that. So in this exhibit, I was actually a little bit underwhelmed. I went around with a paper looking for titanium dioxide, iron oxide, and some of the other minerals that were in face paint, but was unable to find them. But instead, I will keep it short and sweet and kind of show you a little bit of what I did find that are recognizable to the common people. So the first thing we found was copper. And copper is what pennies are made out of, what some coins are made out of. And when it's oxidized, the Statue of Liberty, for example, it turns green. And so that's kind of one of the properties of, the color of green. It's not in our face paints, but fun fact. Second one I found was azurite. And azurite, we'll talk more in the next section about it, but it was I think it was the second color to be found, to be used and extracted into paintings, like for the paintings and the pigments. We also found graphite and iron right next to each other. And graphite is the thing that is made with our pencils, like the stuff you write with, not the wood part, but the stuff that you write with. And iron, iron is like one of the core elements that we use. And when it's oxidized, meaning when oxygen is put to it, it creates rust, iron oxide. And it's funny because some forms of iron oxide are used in cosmetics or in like the earthly pigments. And we'll also talk about that a little bit later in our ochre section. I found gold, and I mean like gold, How cool is it to find it in its truest form, in the most like sparkly version of it. And talc, which is actually what baby powder was made out of, and cosmetic talc, of course. And it was used to absorb the moisture from the body. So all of these different minerals have all these different properties. Of course, there's all these like chemical things you can do with it, but we're not going to go into that here. So that's what I found. It was sad I didn't find titanium dioxide, because that's what the white pigment is for us. But we move on to our next section. Let's learn about blue. First off, it is my favorite color. I mean, this room is blue. Blue, 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 blue. My favorite color. I think this is kind of the reason why blue was kind of the color of royals. The color, you see it on like royalty and stuff. First off, is because blue is such a hard color to find in nature. You may think, but the sky is blue. Be like, well, that's actually because of refraction of water molecules to make it appear like it's blue to our eyeballs. You'd be like, well, butterflies are blue. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. And then maybe like a poisonous frog is blue. You know, so it's really hard to find in nature. This one rock that I got to see at the Smithsonian in this massive, massive form. I was surprised at how big it was, but it's a mineral called Lapis Lazuli. And Lapis Lazuli was only found in one section of northeast Afghanistan. And when it was found, it was the one mineral back in the day that was able to be processed and go through the extraction process, meaning like taking the blue out of the lapis lazuli, to the point where they can create an ultramarine or a pigment, which could be emulsified and ground down and ground down and ground down to be made into paint, to be used in oil paintings, etc., etc. So blue it was a commodity. I think that's why we use synthetic ultramarines in our pigments, because one, it's not sustainable to be sourcing lapis lazuli. One, it's too expensive, way too expensive. And like, yeah, just like the exporting and everything. So that's probably why we use synthetic ultramarines too, because blue is such a hard color to find. There's a second mineral called azurite, which is not nearly as vibrant as lapis lazuli. And that I also got to see in the Smithsonian. And that's the other ultramarine, the pure ultramarine that was used back in the day in our paintings. I want to actually show you a video of some of why things are blue. I'll send you a resource, but I also want to show you one of the videos right now.
19th century, there was only one known source of lapis lazuli in the world, and it's in a place that's called Badakhshan, which is in what's now northeast Afghanistan. And there were some famous mines there at a place called Sar Isang, and all the lapis lazuli that was used across the world from ancient times came from that one single source. It was the only place that it occurred. You can't just take lapis lazuli, however good the quality of the colour, and just grind it up and mix it with a paint medium to make a very satisfactory pigment. You actually have to extract the pigment from the mixture of minerals that constitute lapis lazuli. And the discovery of that process of extraction came into being in the 12th century in Europe.
What they did was that they used wax and mastic and pine turpentine and ground it together and then washed it with lye, and then you ended up with grades of the lazurite, which is the blue portion of the stone, and so that is one of the highest quality examples. And as the extraction process went on, the quality would go down and to a mid blue, and then finally to what is called the ultramarine ash, which is a much lower grade blue.
So butterflies are actually really cool. Smarter Every Day has a really great video about butterflies. He actually went and talked to one of the curators of the butterflies in the exhibit, as well as the butterfly thing that was next to the lapis lazuli. So I want to show his clip here.
We zoom way in on a butterfly wing, we see the colors come from tiny scales. It's actually how moths and butterflies get their scientific name. Oranges, reds, yellows, browns, those scales all contain pigments, organic molecules that absorb every color except what we see. Black scales absorb all colors. Animals from butterflies to birds to you and me don't make these pigments from scratch. They're made from ingredients in our diet. You might know this thanks to flamingos. They're born gray, but turn pink thanks to pigments called carotenoids in crustaceans they eat. So when it comes to these colors, you are what you eat, but not so for blue. Blue is different.
If you move the camera, if you can see that the color changes as you move the camera.
It does, it's like a hologram thing.
Yeah. And this is because there's no blue pigment in these butterflies.
Wait, so they're blue, but they're not really blue?
That's correct, yes.
You're lying to me, butterflies.
These are blue morpho butterflies, maybe the prettiest butterflies of all. I mean, they did make it the butterfly emoji. The blue color isn't from a pigment. The blue comes from the shape of the wing scale itself. And when I learned how this works, it kind of blew my mind. If we zoom way in on a blue wing scale, we see these little ridges. If we slice across the scale and look closer, we see those ridges are shaped like tiny Christmas trees. The arrangement of branches is what gives morpho wings their blue color. When light comes in, some bounces off the top surface, but some light passes into the layer and reflects off the bottom surface. For most colors of light, waves reflecting from the top and bottom will be out of phase. They'll be canceled out, and that light is removed. But blue light has just the right wavelength. The reflected light waves are in sync, and that color makes it to our eye.
Cool, right? Cool, right? Yeah. So, I mean, now when you look at one of the blues, I think that is why blue is such a royal color that is used in things. That is one of the reasons why it is my favorite color too. Color of the ocean, color of calm. Okay, that's all I wanted to say about blue. I get to like wear this all day now. I'm so happy. Okay, we go to ochre.
Hi, so we just got done with the Gems in Mineral exhibit, and we did not find ochre actually, so we're gonna try and check the human origins, which is down there next to the ocean hall. So I found the exhibit.
Let's talk about ochre. So first off, let's go into like what is it. So I would say it's kind of like an umbrella term for earthy iron-rich rocks that were composed of iron oxides and oxyhydroxides, iron oxides, Fe2O3, all connect together. Sorry, that was my dark side coming up. But man, ochre has such a deep integration into our culture, into other cultures. The earliest evidence of the spotting of the use of ochre was in Africa about 285,000 years ago. So it's had many different properties, not just for body painting. It's been used, I think if anyone hears the word ochre, they think, oh, cave paintings, the stuff on cave paintings. And yeah, you're right. They were on cave paintings. They were on, it was like a self-expression.
Finally found the ochre. So ochre was used by our ancestors. It is actually paints from they say they have manganese too. That's also used in our face wash. So you can get a closer look.
It's been used as adhesive for, attaching spearheads to sticks. Of course, they would tie it off, but it was used as an adhesive first. It was used at funerals. They would sprinkle it all over the body of the deceased loved one, and it was the red was symbolic as like blood and symbolic of like life, almost like rebirth. So it had a lot of ritual purposes as well. It was an antibacterial. It had antibacterial properties, still does, to help break down the collagen and help preserve hides. And so we're made of collagen, so that's what collagen is. We're made of it, animals are made out of it. Oh, the most interesting one to me was the use of almost like a sunscreen. And so they would use it to cover their skin, to cover their whole body, their hair and everything, their scalp, as a way to help protect themselves from the sun. And they would mix it with, I think, an animal fat, and they would do that. So what you've all been waiting for, how is it used in face paint? So face paint crosses many different cultures. I did a research paper in college about this Ethiopian tribe, like the Karo tribe, and they would paint their bodies in beautiful, like, white forms. And the men would do it, the women would do it, but the men would do it as like a mating ritual to be like, this is me, this is me, this is all of me. Do you want to be my mate, kind of thing. And it's self-expression, which is what it still is. They're not strapped down by art rules. And but it's just beautiful how it's still used as the same thing today. For us, we use it as like a celebratory thing, and it was used the same way in all the other cultures as well. So very fascinating. I hope you learned a little bit more about, the deep tradition of face paint. Like, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere, which is great. And yeah, I'll put resources in the comments. I hope this made you a better face painter, a more knowledgeable face painter, and I hope you enjoyed a little bit of education of it. I don't know everything, but I do have an avid interest in it and in learning the craft in its entirety.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching that video. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about the minerals behind face painting. If you're new to this channel, we face paint here as well as I go on adventures. So I hope this was a wonderful adventure for you. Check out the Smithsonian, the Natural History Museum in Washington, D.C. when you get the chance. Alright, be kind, stay curious, and have fun. Goodbye!
That's all I got. Thank you for watching to the end. As always, be kind, stay curious, and have fun. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!